Welcome to the Trisbrina Show. I be the Tris.
I'm the Brina. Now, the star of tonight's show is your sweet little heart, which is about the size of your fist. It's the strongest muscle in your body. It beats 100,000 times a day and pumps 2 gallons of blood through your body each day. That's a lot. And do you know that your heart starts beating within 3 weeks after conception? The brain takes a little bit more time to evolve, but that heart, it starts right away. But the focus of tonight's show is about stress and how it negatively affects the cardiovascular system and how gentle movements, these physical movements, really help your heart. And I think it's going to motivate you and excite you to hear how big of an impact simple movements can be on the health of your heart.
It's huge, this heart conversation. There's so many layers to it. You know, we love the energy arts here at Satori Method. It's such an important part of our lives is to have that healthy energy flowing through us. And when your energy swells and wells in your heart center, in addition to the heart muscle, you feel beautiful. You feel blissed out. You feel connected. Now, recently we did get called creepy on the Trisbrina Show because I think sometimes there's so much love and so much connection and so much giddiness and silliness that that's a lot to take. But tonight's not going to be any different. So if you like creepy love, here you go.
No, that's actually so funny that Tristan brought that up because I was talking about it to some people today and I'm like, oh my gosh. You know, they say you've made it when you have anti-fans. But this woman, she said that we were a creepy couple, no thanks. And it was so awesome to see that my response was laughter. And what I felt was if someone isn't used to being around a couple that's like, we are really focused on working on our relationship and being the best for each other because the relationship, the video that she watched that was creepy was about love and relationships. I'm like, I bet it could seem like a Stepford-ish to some people.
That's true.
But I love that my first reaction was to laugh and think, well, there you go. I've been called a lot of things, but never creepy.
I haven't gotten creepy before either. But I was down with it.
Boo!
I said to Sabrina, it probably is the Stepford thing. Like when you come across people who are bubbly and sunshiny and all of that, you know, it seems weird. Like, I don't know what category to put that in. But I hope that you're in that category too. And that you are irritatingly beautiful and smiling from ear to ear. And you just can't help it.
Or doing your best too, right? Because you know, no matter how, let's say, great your life is, the whole thing about life is things come to us, life happens, which is what we're going to talk about tonight, and events happen, and challenges, and conflicts, and contrast, and you're navigating your feelings, and you're seeing what you feel, and you're seeing how to reframe a situation. So it's not always this cookie-cutter, happy couple. It is the end result, but it's because moment to moment we are trying to find that essence which is good and which is kind and which is loving and which has great faith and which believes that what you put into it, you get out of it, that we are working that. We are working that in a graceful, playful way constantly.
And that's the default. The default is love and joy, and to use everything, especially the contrast, to propel yourself into that more, not to stay stuck in the loop of fear. You know, this past weekend, we had a wake-up call with Sabrina's mom.
Oh, are you going to tell?
Well, I'm going to segue for you. We were at an event, and it was the second day going into it.
We were at a 2-day mastermind where we were sleeping outside of the house. We were staying at a different location.
Yeah, we were outside the house. And we got a text early in the morning that Sabrina's mom was on her way to the ER. So this is scary stuff, and it had to do with the heart. Henceforth, we're really diving into the heart tonight. And I won't go into all the details. So we'll let Sabrina share what she feels is appropriate for the show. But it was a curveball, right? And so the trajectory of our schedule completely changed. But we came from love and came from heart to support Rita's heart. So
Yeah, life is easy, right? When you just prioritize. Yes, we had friends visiting from California that have a business that were attending this mastermind with us. And yes, it was only halfway through, and we got a call that, hey, this thing is happening.
The heart was going crazy.
Yeah, and she was in the ER. Her resting heart rate, and she's watching right now, making sure I probably say it all correctly, was between 46 and 146. So she was in AFib, but she did have an ablation last November. So
that's where they cauterize some of the nerves that are causing the heart to flutter and beat out of sinus rhythm.
Mm-hmm. So, we got a call that she's in the ER. Where do we want to be? Well, of course we want to be there. And of course we want to be there with her. And of course it's no big deal. And of course we say to our friends that flew in from California to attend the mastermind with us,
gotta go.
Hey, you guys enjoy the mastermind. We'll see you tomorrow. And everything worked out beautifully. And we were just calling it the call of love.
Call of love.
Yeah. You just
the call of the heart.
Do what you respond to. But from being in the ER and getting to talk to those doctors, and then from taking Mom to a heart specialist on Monday and an AFib specialist on Tuesday, and then being admitted to the hospital tomorrow for a procedure where they shock the heart so that it drops back into sinus rhythm, and being there for enough hours to talk to the multitude of nurses who were swarming around the room, it just seemed like the perfect conversation for tonight's show was the health of the heart.
There are so many beautiful things that the heart does for you, like Sabrina talked about. The gallons of blood flowing through this muscle. How many beats a day?
100,000.
So your little muscle's gone 100,000 times, like clockwork usually, keeping you alive. There's
beating
so much
faster when you need more blood, slowing down.
And so we want to talk about the health of the heart and some of the keys to having a healthy heart. I'm sure that most of them are obvious, but what's important is that we're actually taking time to practice loving the heart. And I'm not just talking about emotionally and mentally, although that's an important part. We're going to talk about movement, and gentle movement up to vigorous movement. We're movers. You're probably a mover too. We love the gentle movements of Tai Chi, Qigong, and fitness type movements like dance and martial arts because you get your heart rate up and you get that pumping of that extra strengthening of the heart muscle, which is so important because we're impacted by stress all day long. And stress disrupts the energy system and the magnetics within the body. Mm-hmm. Your heart is an electromagnetic organ. So it doesn't take much for the heart to get out of sync due to stress.
Well, let's
dive into some of these.
Let's talk about, now before we move on, I think I misspoke. The hospital was yesterday where they shocked Mom.
Right.
So we're all back home today. And as far as heart history goes, one of the reasons we're passionate about that is Tristan's mom had a pacemaker. She was young, like 50s.
Mom had a pacemaker. Mom used to have the hardest time walking, no energy when they put the pacemaker in. She was like, oh my gosh, I felt like a new lease on life. Well, what is that? That's the pumping of the heart. Yeah. And my father, he died of a stroke. So would you think that I should, be mindful of the genetics there? Yeah. So absolutely.
And my father has had, I think you can let me know in the chat if I'm incorrect, but I think 2 stent procedures. And then Mom has had an AFib an ablation back in 2011, and then another one last year.
So it's high priority, not from fear, but from mindful attention that we take care of the heart, and we want to share this with you and inspire you.
So first, let's talk about stress. I'm going to say that we're going to define that word stress as physical and mental when we talk about it tonight. It is the thoughts and it's the physical stress on the body and what that can do to the heart. Because some people are like, I'm fine. I walk every day, so I worry a little. Right? So we're just going to quickly run through a couple of things that maybe we could think about so that we're a little bit more aware of what stress does to the heart and why. And we have some notes off to the side. Well, the first thing that it does is it increases your blood pressure.
Right.
It triggers the release of stress hormones like adrenaline, cortisol, which temporarily raise your blood pressure, and prolonged or chronic stress can keep the blood pressure consistently elevated, increasing the risk of high blood pressure and putting strain on the heart. So what does that mean? Stress, what we're thinking about, maybe what we're worrying about. So I'm going to cut to. This is so interesting. I was listening to a report today, and it was on animals and stress in an animal. Well, stress in an animal is the tiger's coming, I need to run, I run. And when the tiger's coming and I need to run, I need to dump those hormones so that I have the energy to run quickly, poop, right? Let it all go and then return to normal. But with us humans, we have this incredible capacity to imagine. And we have this incredible imagination. That's why we can create our future now. That's why we can visualize. That's why we can feel the future. But also with that imagination, we can imagine all the horrible things that could happen. And when we imagine those things and we feel those things, we actually release those hormones in the body as though it's happening. And the heart feels that as though it's really happening. If we're not imagining, we might be remembering. We might be remembering some trauma or stress from years ago. And in the remembering of it and the feeling of it, the brain goes, ah! And it repeats it. So that's kind of what we're dealing with as humans, is this incredible capacity, which we can use to our benefit, or it can be used against us, that we can create these situations where we think we're under attack, where we think the saber-toothed tiger is chasing us because it chased us 10 years ago, or it might chase us 10 years in the future, and we are being chased
Obviously,
constantly.
the tiger's a metaphor because we don't get chased by too many tigers these days. But it's built in and baked into your biology, which is to run away, right? Or to attack and try to survive through the attack. So, you know, that whole saber-toothed tiger thing, there was a book that came out years ago, Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers. And really, it's what you're speaking to, is human beings lack the capacity, unfortunately, with worry, to turn off that mechanism that was designed to help you escape from the predator. Now, that low-grade stress also erodes your energy, your life force. So you might not be sitting here thinking, well, I'm not stressed. But when stress has calibrated to a low-grade state, you don't even know you're in it. It's like the frog in the water, and they turn the hot under, and then over time the frog gets cooked, and he doesn't see it coming. That's what happens to human beings. Over time, their heart gets cooked. Their brain gets cooked because you're living in stress soup, okay? So we have to have techniques in our lives that help reset and recalibrate us back to our normal state of homeostasis. That's why they shock.
And so also you have a comparison, right? You have a comparison of you don't even know you're in stress because it's become the norm. So we're going to talk about ways that you can feel not stressed.
Well, first is to notice.
You said that's why they shocked.
I did. I was going to go there. That's why they shocked Rita's heart, was to recalibrate it back to normal. It's why a massage therapist squeezes your muscles really tight and then releases them slowly so your brain remembers what your original state is like. So through Qigong, through gentle movement, through breathing, through meditation, you actually recalibrate because there's an intelligence within that knows your normal set point. But if you're constantly living in the mind and the worry, you'll never be able to recalibrate back to your natural state. So this is why deep breathing is really important. This is why making sounds like it's feeding through your auditory system and telling your brain it's safe, no tiger coming. And your system and your blood pressure will drop back down and your heart will be happier.
Okay, the second thing that stress does is it elevates your heart rate. So stress activates the sympathetic nervous system, leading to an increased heart rate. While a temporary increase in heart rate is normal during stressful situations, chronic stress can keep the heart rate elevated for extended periods, and this can strain the heart and contribute to the development of cardiovascular issues. When I was talking to one of the nurses in Mom's room, he was telling me how, over time, parts of the heart can actually sort of become enlarged and stretched and overworked. And that he just kept saying the heart is a muscle. So when someone comes in and we get their resting heart rate, it oftentimes, of course, I just want to say there are circumstances, so please don't write me a bunch of emails telling me how you're special. I know that we all have certain things, but let's just say for the most part, the heart is a muscle and we can work it to get it more fit. No matter how old we are, no matter what level, just like every other muscle in the body, we can get that muscle more fit than it is right now.
Oh, this is so important. So if it's a muscle, then it needs to be worked, right? Now, Qigong and Tai Chi are very beautiful at reducing stress. So taking that pressure, that internal pressure and that chemical dump, taking that off the heart. But you need to move, and gentle movements are great, but we got to get the heart rate up a little bit. Like in our fitness fusion classes, we're moving up and down quickly, we're tapping our feet in and out, we're walking forwards and backwards, we might be doing some jumping jacks.
And the way we go up and down,
We're deliberately trying to stimulate our cardiovascular system because we want it beating. And a good way to tell what your max heart rate should be when you're working out is 220 minus your age, according to Dr. Google. Remember, we are not doctors, but that's Dr. Google. 220 minus your age gives you a pretty good zone of what you could try to get your heart rate up to. Now, check with your specialist and all of that.
And because I'm going to say, you have to take into account your resting heart rate. Right? If your resting heart rate is extremely low, then your max heart rate will be lower as well. So the 220 minus your age, for me, that's going to be higher than I ever get my heart rate because my resting heart rate is lower.
You're going to feel that heart pounding and beating. So, for example, there were some years during my back injury that I couldn't do cardiovascular exercise. So I did everything that I could to be healthy for my heart. Sleeping enough. Making sure that I'm hydrating enough. Making sure that I'm eating nutritious foods that are good for the heart. Keeping the sodium down, right?
Breathing.
Being in my heart center. Being in gratitude. Do everything you can to protect and strengthen your heart in that respect. But move your arms, move your body, and try to get it up. Now, if you're able, go for a nice brisk walk or do some Tai Chi as you're walking. But really get that. Now, I started to have to bring my heart back online, if you will, like getting it strong again. And at first, it was really challenging. I felt out of breath. It was hard. And my mind felt really dizzy at first. Now, again, not doctors. You check the dizziness with your docs. But I was working through stagnant energy and the fact that my heart it's like working out a muscle again.
And he hadn't been able to move in so many years.
And so my muscles were feeling it. My heart muscle was feeling. But guess what? I was consistent. And every day I'd walk a little further and I'd walk a little further. And all of a sudden I started feeling so much more clear and so much stronger. And my heart was better. I wasn't snoring like I was at night. It takes care of so many things when you give your heart the movement and the love that it needs. So that's my pitch for you is get your heartbeat going.
Okay. Do we want to keep on stress?
Let's stay on the stressors. Higher risk of heart disease. Chronic stress has been linked to an increased risk of developing heart disease. So stress can contribute to the accumulation of plaque in your arteries. Okay. And then it can also promote inflammation in the body. So stress has its place, right? There is healthy stress. You're all driving a car, your heart rate's going to go up. There is external stress that you're dealing with, but stress can be good. Stress can challenge the nervous system to function under more activity and things going on.
The same with every other muscle in your body.
Yes,
you have to stress it to
need
get
some
stronger.
healthy stress. It's like if you go to the gym and you work out, you will feel you're placing stress on the tissues on the heart. If you overstress, then it becomes harmful rather than helpful. Overstress is where you feel like, oh, this is hurting. I feel dizzy. I'm getting a headache, right? So you don't want to push too hard, but you want to challenge it. So not all stress is bad stress, but the bad stress, which is what we're talking about here, is so often it's mental to physical. It's you getting all up in your head and freaking out or worrying or looping in negative thoughts. That is so not helpful to your lovely heart.
Yeah. The next thing that we're going to talk about, the stress, how it affects the heart, is it can affect our lifestyle choices because we're trying to cope with stress. So we may be more sedentary, we may drink too much, we may smoke too much, we may binge eat on food and have weight gain. And these lead to hypertension, heart attack, stroke, and then, of course, the quality of sleep. These things can affect your sleep. So when we're stressed out, it affects kind of like everything in our life because we're not making the best choices. Because when we're stressed, we feel like, I just got to get through the day, right? Just got to get through the day. That's right.
When I'm stressed, my heart rate is faster.
Oh, yeah.
So I have a monitor, a wearable, that I can just click a button and it lets me know what my resting heart rate is and then what my current heart rate is. So this is an iWatch. It is a really good thing to get.
Apple Watch.
Okay, Apple Watch. It's a really good idea to learn through measuring how you're doing. Like her resting heart rate right now is 49 beats per minute. That's really freaking low. Sometimes I think I'm married to a ghost.
A zombie.
Mine is typically in the 60s. I would like to bring it down. So what I do is I become mindful of it and then I check in with my breathing. And I notice my environment and I ask the question, why am I all up right now? What's going on with me? Because in order to break a habit, you have to be able to be mindful of the habit. So you need to be able to monitor where you're at, right? So as soon as you notice, oh, I'm coming up, what's going on? Check in, take a couple of mindful breaths.
What are you thinking about?
You can literally watch your capacity to lower on your watch, lower your heart rate, and then measure your blood pressure. Notice what your blood, like if you can measure it, you can correct it. If you don't know and you're just walking through your life, in the dark, and all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, how did I get here? You can catch this sooner.
Yeah, and of course, your blood pressure and your resting heart rate, they're just going to change. They're going to change every minute. So it's just going to be over time. You're going to kind of get the average. But the last thing we want to talk about as far as how stress affects your life is just to wrap back around to sleep. We really don't sleep well when we're stressed out. And when we don't sleep well, the heart can is more likely to hypertension, heart attacks, and stroke. It's essential sleep for maintaining a really healthy heart. So, in a nutshell, stress is really not good for the heart. Okay, so you know that. So what do you do? Well, that's what we've been talking about. What can you do with gentle movements and better choices that are going to take you out of that stress and completely counteract all of that?
I just will add a little bit on the sleeping. I have another thing that I put on my hand, a ring. It's called an Aura ring. I only wear it at night when I sleep. We're bionic. Because it will measure my sleeping patterns, my REM sleep pattern and my deep sleep. It'll measure my oxygen levels. And, it helps me know, like, get to bed, buddy. Like, it'll make my phone go ding, ding. It's approaching your bedtime. So you want to be consistent with getting to bed at a certain time. Be consistent with that cycle. And then try to get that 8 hours if you can. And then notice your sleep. If you can get into some nice deep sleep, right? That delta sleep is so restorative for your tissues and your heart. So that's, to me, my sleep is so important. We call it sleep gong because sleeping is a type of Qigong. Yeah. It's a type of way of re-energizing. If you don't sleep, your whole system shuts down.
Years ago, when I would wake up in the middle of the night and feel like I couldn't fall back asleep, like we had this amazing storm Monday or Tuesday night where the room was just lighting up with lightning and thunder and the wind was going crazy. And I've shifted the idea of I can't sleep to, oh, I get to breathe and be aware of my breath. And sometimes I'll lay on my back and I'll cross my arms, but over my lower ab, and I'm laying on my back, and I just breathe like we've taught a lot of you guys about hugging the pillow. I don't have a pillow, but I have my arms there, and I feel the weight of my arms, especially since I'm laying on my back, and I really feel the air going into the lower belly and lowering. And I just say that how lucky I am to have this special time to focus on my breath. And the next thing, I know I'm totally asleep.
Reframe.
But after they shocked Mom's heart, we were playing with the number on the heart monitor. And even one of the nurses said, breathe deep into your belly. And we would watch her heart rate drop like 5 numbers so quickly.
Yes. Can I'm going to respond to Joanna's question as we're flowing through this. Can you speak to whether the heart, the health of the physical heart impacts the heart energy center and chakra and one's ability to access the brain of one's being? So we call the heart center the brain of your being because there's an incredible intelligence within your heart. So think about this. If your heart is under a lot of stress, you are shutting off your access to that inner being, to that inner knowing, right? Because the heart is absolutely picking up on the energies of your system. So one thing that I do that I absolutely love and helps me to tap into that brain of my being is I feel as if I'm breathing from my heart. So there's deep belly breathing, which is beautiful, right? You drop your awareness. We teach people to focus their third eye, and we call it the daisy chain. And you feel like your third eye sits in your belly.
You look like a daisy tonight.
Thank you. I feel like a daisy. And you just slow the breath down. We teach something called slides where it's slow.
Sloth.
It's slothy. It's a slothy breath. It's slow, it's long, it's internal, it's deep, it's even and smooth. That's slides. And you work on these techniques with us and you get that belly breath working nice and deep. But then you move to here and you get really soft. And you place your mind inside your heart now, and you just feel, it's not just chest breathing, it's very gentle. There's nothing like that. It's not radical. It's soft and smooth, and you're just breathing into and through your heart center, and you're connecting to that feeling of gratitude and love, and your heart energy shifts. And that energy absolutely affects your physical heart. Mm-hmm. Your physical heart has receptors that are picking up on information. So your chakra, to your question, is an information gate. And so as you soothe and open that gate, you're allowing pure energy and information to flow better. Now your brain informs, the heart informs the brain of what's going on. So that's what a satori is. It's an upload. So if you can get into your heart center and really allow that energy center to swell and well in the vibration of all that is good, it will start to feed information up to your brain, bringing clarity, bringing insight and satori.
Yeah. With most of our trainings, you guys know, we move the body. We move the body because when we move the body, it's kind of like shaking off, tapping, bouncing, squeezing, and shaking the stress away. Yep. So that we can tap in. And so many of the movements, when we reach our arms up and we stretch and we move so that the lungs can have that big capacity, but also so the heart has this big open space. Where I was in the hospital, I saw so many people checking in and walking down the halls in various ages and various stages of whatever they're going through. And I saw so much compression. I saw so many people who were stuck over here.
Think about what that's doing to her lungs and her heart when she's crunched forward and heavy and down. That's putting pressure.
And walking like that is so...
It's like squeezing something and holding it in a squeeze. And that's why we talk so much about posture and long spine and open rib carriage. All of those things help free the space.
Yeah, so, there's probably some disease of the spine that is causing it, but it is also compromising the lung capacity, compromising the space of the heart.
Mindful awareness, skyhook lifted to the heavens, shoulders relaxed, breastbone gently lifted, long spine, information highway, heart open.
I just want to say to anyone listening, it's to the best of your ability. Right, to the best of your ability. I think one of the things we do as humans so much is, well, I can't stand up straight like that. So we just default.
Can you do a little bit?
Can just a little? Just a little bit? And then maybe just a little bit more.
Breathe through here.
We are not saying, you need to be an athlete, you need to go do a triathlon.
But if you can.
Yeah, we're saying, do you realize how much your heart would benefit from gentle movements and consistently doing some kind of gentle movements? Why do we have 3 dojo classes a week? Why do we move at 3 times a week plus walking or whatever? It is so important. We are, of course we're souls on a mission, but these souls are inside the body a lot too, right? We have access to all that is, but we got to move this thing.
Movement is medicine. We are crazy for movement, because we know the difference. We hurt when we don't move. We grumpy when we don't move. We're not in the joy. Lately, I don't know if you've been around, I have been talking about my body as a bliss body. I've never been in my life in a place where I have felt as much joy and bliss in my body as I do now from our practice of Qigong. When I was younger, I had the benefit of youth, but that was a different kind of body. I didn't have the Qigong bliss.
It is very different.
And I completely took it for granted. And although, albeit I wasn't in as much physical stuff as I was in my 30s, pain-wise, it's nothing like the bliss that I experience today.
Yeah.
My body is fluid. I am so grateful for my body, and my body knows that, and my body tells me. Your body's a teacher. My body tells me, thank you. And one more thing, spiritual energy, essence, source, it comes into my body and it says thank you.
Yeah.
It says, this is a great place to hang out. We like it here. It literally tells me this. Thank you for making a temple for us to play in.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. And I am experiencing massive bliss. Every now and then there's an ache, a pain, or whatever, and that's fine. It doesn't have to detract me from the experience of being connected. But you guys, what I'm saying is your body is a beautiful home for your soul, and there's a lot more joy to be had if you go for it. You can really love being in your home.
Yeah. I think it's tough sometimes when you haven't been moving, and when we haven't moved, we're tired. Right? You do feel tired.
Yeah. I get it.
I notice, and it's not just the habit. It's something about maybe if a fire's going, it's easier to throw a couple of logs on it to keep it going. It's harder than starting a fire. And I noticed that as long as I'm consistently moving, it's pretty good, because moving makes energy.
Yeah.
We create energy. And then a whole other topic of a show is, don't forget that we are electrical beings. We are electric, and the way that we move our body is tapping into the energy flow. And what did they just work on with my mom yesterday? The electricity of her heart.
Yep. The electromagnetic.
Putting it back in sync. I think what she had going on was a flutter, and it reminded me of if I was playing the Trisbrina Show on Facebook and YouTube at the same time, and it was a little off. It was a little off sync. And it's like for 1 minute they go, whoop, get in sync. And when they do that shock, it puts everything back in rhythm. And to me, that's what gentle movements with a sense of presence and focus and appreciation does, is it gets everything back in rhythm.
I'd love to give you a call to action. If you have been feeling low energy, physical pain,
stress,
experiencing some type of dis-ease, use it the way that we speak of the noble horse that runs at the shadow of the whip. It goes, got it, and move in the direction of feeling empowered, not a victim. So often in our medical society, we are taught, this is bad, we've got to put you on these drugs and these pills. I get that there's a time and a place for those things. But you have the ability to create chemistry. You have a pharmacopoeia inside. And all you have to do is engage it through healthy movement, good thinking, and maturing the love in your heart, body, mind, soul. If you would move towards those things, I'm speaking to myself, more and more, and get highly inspired to, like a sleuth, like a detective, go after it and research. Like this show should be giving you ideas and inspiring you to be a better sleuth, a better detective. Go after it and do things that you can do to feel empowered, rather than like, I'm waiting for somebody to save me. I'm waiting for the next thing that they give me that hopefully is... Don't wait. Mm-hmm. Do the things that we're talking about, and you will actually look back, I think, and there's got two parts to this close. You'll look back and you go, I'm so glad that happened, because it thrusts me in a direction of vitality. And the other is, you don't have to wait for it to get bad. You know, the stories are out there, the statistics are out there. How about we prevent that from happening by being mindful today and doing what we know needs to be done? Now, a lot of times we need a bit of a wake-up call, but maybe don't wait for the wake. This is it. and you don't have to get sick to get well. How about you just get weller? Yeah. Right? Go next level.
And years ago, gosh, so many years ago, I remember I was actually at John Assaraf's house, and you and John were in the pool, and I was tanning back when I let the sun hit my body, and I read the book called The Compound Effect, which was so amazing because it just showed how these tiny little increments make this compound effect. And a few of those examples were things that had seemed so trite to me, like, oh, at the airport, you can take the escalator or that one flight of stairs.
Right.
Or at the grocery store, if you're able, go ahead and take that parking spot that's a little bit further away. That's it.
Yeah.
Right? Or if you can walk one block to get your mail rather than drive the car. And it showed how cumulatively over 10 years, how much that affects your health, how much that changes your muscle mass. It's not that much. I mean, we're the people at the airport that are not on the escalator or the moving treadmill. We're the ones on the carpet walking, because it doesn't seem like anything in the moment, but cumulatively, it can make a difference. Just cumulatively.
So good. So these shows are to inspire each of us to keep moving towards joy and love and vitality. This community of people who is saying, yes, we're not victims of the system. We're going to do our part. We're going to choose to respect this beautiful body. This body is a gift. Yeah. And there are lots of things that we can do. So
and moving towards that, you mix what the doctor says with it, right? I always want to bring this up. If you do need some medication, great, fine. If you do need a procedure, wow, technology is amazing.
Thank God for what Rita had the other day.
But also eat foods that are good, sleep and move. Keep doing everything you're doing to take care of the body also.
We love our community. We love the new people who stumble upon our page, even if they think we're creepy. If they got 1% of what we're talking about.
Let's look creepy. 1, 2, 3.
Is that creepy? We're not going anywhere as long as there's a video camera and a place to share. We're going to share this stuff. Thanks for being in our circumference, and we love you creepy people out there.
If you didn't get that, if you tuned in late, there was just somebody commented on a video where we talked about relationships and love that we were creepy.
These two are creepy. No, thank you. We have to so appreciate folks for doing that stuff for us. Anyway, much love. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will see you in movement. Movement is medicine. Movement is life.
Should we make another creepy face? 1, 2, 3. That'll be the thumbnail.
Okay. All right, everybody. On that note, we're peace upping with the Trisbrina music. Royalty free. Have a beautiful weekend. And if you're in the dojo, we'll see you on Saturday. Much love.